We're live on TV3. Now, government is set to receive plans for the roadmap in privatizing the Electricity Company of Ghana and the Northern Electricity Distribution Company. You may know it as NEDCO. The Mahama administration has reiterated its resolve to hand over management of the critical institutions to private hands, but has tasked experts to decide on the how. We'll take you now to the Energy Ministry, where my co-anchor, Mawena Egbeta, is standing by with more details from the ministry concerning this story. Mawena, what else is there to know?
Right, as we speak right now, the report has been handed over to the Energy Minister, who's been speaking to a number of things as well in relation to, amongst many, the missing ECG containers, but just focusing really with respect to the work that's been done by this committee. Mr. Jabez Emisaratha is a chairman, and I'll just walk you through briefly some of the details which have been captured. They interacted with as many as 280 individuals, 35 organizations, and they, amongst many things, identified some 9 major challenges, of which many of them ranged from administrative challenges with respect to the Electricity Company of Ghana, operational issues, and then as well challenges with distribution. Out of the solutions or recommendations they were seeking to make available to government, the initial plan was 8. They narrowed it down to 3, which they believe is the best approach ready for government to undertake. Thus, the report has been handed over to the minister. Let's try this afternoon and engage the chair of this 7-member committee, Mr. Jabez Emisaratha, on what really the recommendations are for government. Sir, thank you very much for joining us here on News Central on TV3. Let's start off with the work that was done, the challenges you identified, and if you can walk viewers through it again, really, what are the bottlenecks which are seeking to impede the work of ECG, which this government is seeking to address?
Yes, okay, yeah. We looked at the challenges that are impeding the work that are going forward, the distribution work in Ghana, and we identified 9 challenges, like you have said. We found that 2 of those challenges have to do with the administrative setup of ECG. 3 of them have to do with operational issues. And another 3 have nothing to do with ECG at all. They are outside ECG's control. And the last one, the 9th one, is half and half. Now, some of those internal administrative things are to do with governance and management. I mean, it is mild to say that there's a problem with the governance and management at ECG. The procurement abuse we had identified earlier, and which has been elaborated in the report that the other committee has provided, those are 2 big ones. And there are high losses caused by various things. High losses in terms of collections and commercial activities. Then technical activities as well as unaccounted energy is also a problem. Then there is also a tariff gap. There's a gap in the tariff that they are supposed to get. Then there is exchange loss problems, coming from the fact that ECG buys power in dollars and then sells it for cedis. So the transactions in moving from dollars to cedis and back to dollars to pay also creates losses. So those are one of the many things that are going on. Yes.
With respect to the solutions you've proffered, you've narrowed it down to 3 with respect to the private sector participation, which this government is seeking to allow. What are the 3 solutions you're proffering to government, and how does this address some of these challenges you're raising? Because we hear a lot of it has to do with distribution, these solutions which are coming on board.
Yes, the distribution angle is important, because without that you can't solve the problem. There are also other challenges, but the options that we have looked at and that we have settled on, and what we have done is to assess each of these options to tell government what are the pros and cons of each, what are the advantages and disadvantages, the strengths and weakness of each. And there is a balancing act. As you choose one, you lose out on the other. So one has to choose carefully, and that's what we have tried to do, provide the insights and the information that will allow the government to make an informed choice as to where it has to go. Now, one of them is an outright concession for the entire ECG. So that will be very similar to what was tried in 2019. Yes. The PDS is along that line. The other one is to break the ECG down into various sections, 4 or 5 units, and let each operate or award each to a private company to lead the operation. That is the option B that we are talking about. Then there's an option C. The option C focuses on the customer experience and how to improve the service to the customer and make sure that the collections and everything are up to speed. So those are the 3 options that we have summarized in the report, and as I've said, we have given indications on how each of those options could be made to work the best that it can be.
We've seen the experience of PDS, and a lot of the report suggested that revenue collection picked up more strongly during the short period they existed, amongst many other things. The minister as well has mentioned that a number of you could be again enrolled onto the implementation of this privatization move. What would you suggest? Because some make the argument that we've seen PDS and it was working quite well. Why don't we go in a similar fashion this time, just allowing for transparency?
So there's that option there as well, but there are certain parts there are certain weaknesses in it. We have identified some of the weaknesses in the previous implementation, that if one was to go that way, how it could be improved. So those are all in the report, that if you wanted to do the PDS 2.0, we have given you directions on what you have to do this time to make it even better. If you want to do any of the other ones, we have also given the recommendations on how to make those the best that they can be.
Thank you very much for speaking to us.
Thank you, too. Thank you.
So that's Mr. Emisaratha, Jabesh Emisaratha. The minister, the energy minister as well, has been speaking in relation to the way forward with respect to this report that's been submitted to them. He says that immediately they're going to write officially in a memorandum of some sort and take this to cabinet, where a decision can be taken as to, out of the 3, which is best. And then after a decision is taken at cabinet level, then there will be an operationalization with respect to the plan and how all of this will go. Let me just walk you through briefly with respect to how the energy minister says all of this will go. A position paper is expected to be taken to cabinet for the entire government to approve the option, and a cogent implementation committee is expected to be set up. Then a transaction advisor will be sought, and then they will seek to, as much as possible, have a lot of local content participation in this entire process, while stressing on transparency. And so that's the latest that we've got from the minister with respect to this work that's been done by this committee looking into the privatization of ECG. Kamini, just lastly, with respect to the conversation which has dominated the media with respect to ECG having to do with the missing containers, the minister says that they've written to the Attorney General, they are waiting advice. They are also in collaboration with National Security seeking to consolidate the numbers with respect to some of the missing containers as well. And in due course, as and when the advice and the responses come from both entities, that will be made available as well to viewers and then listeners all together. And so that's the latest from the minister and this committee right now, Kemini.
But thank you so much for the reporting. He just joined us with that interview with the lead of that committee looking into the privatization of ECG. But the question is, why are we having this conversation at this time? And it's really simple. ECG has been awfully inefficient because over the years between 2017 and 2022, ECG ran into 17.4 billion cedi loss. 17.4 billion. And if you are listening to us, it's with a B, billion. And all because of revenue shortfalls, failing to meet cash waterfall mechanism requirements, bankruptcy at some point, needing government financial support to be able to stay in business. But these losses also could be seen as about 30% transmission losses, exchange rate losses also in there, about 3.5 million cedis annually. So over the 5-year period, we're seeing 3.5 million cedi annual in exchange rate losses. And ECG, as we very well know at this point, owes the independent power producers about 1.6 billion United States dollars. And this is as of April 2024. And today is April what? April 2nd. So this is the very latest figure as far as ECG's debt to the IPPs is concerned. So that's a breakdown of what ECG's debt looks like. 30% from transmission losses, exchange rate losses amounting to 3.5 million cedis annually. And then, ECG itself owing the IPP some $1.6 billion. Well, away from ECG, the Medina District Court has charged Daniel Owusu-Kranting, the prime suspect in the murder of investigative journalist Ahmed Swale, with abetment and murder after prosecution filed new charges against the accused persons. The police prosecution, led by Chief Inspector Nanefua Bampo, told the court that Daniel Kranting led 2 other alleged culprits, currently alleged, to the home of Ahmed Swale, where he was eventually shot and killed by unknown assailants. Ahmed Swale was shot and killed by these men near his family home in Medina on January 16, 2019. A member of the Tiger IPI group, he had collaborated with the BBC on an investigative report that exposed corruption in African football, which is believed to have made him a target. His murder drew widespread international attention and condemnation, highlighting the risks faced by investigative journalists in this country. The police prosecution, led by Chief Inspector Nanefua Bampo, told the court that Daniel Kranting led 2 alleged culprits currently at large to the home of Ahmed Swale. Lord Edwasare is our court correspondent following the story closely. Lord, good afternoon. What else can you report about the story? New charges for Daniel.
Indeed, Kenny. So in court today, the police prosecution led by Chief Inspector Ifra Bamfra told the court that they were withdrawing their initial charge sheet and then substituting with one which is abetment to commit crime, to which murder and then murder. Now, he indicated that from the investigations, it came to light that 2 other persons, alleged culprits, were involved and were sent to the home of the deceased, Ahmed Swale, by the accused person, Daniel Owusu-Kranting. Now, they again noted that somewhere in 2019, after Daniel reportedly left the shores of the country to the UK, upon return, he disguised himself using the NIA card of another person to register his SIM card, and later on the police accosted him in that matter. Now, his lawyer, led by Sophie Isel Hackman, pleaded with the court to grant him bail, indicating that he had been in police custody since March 12, and pray that the court will grant him bail, again stressing that it's only the court that can give him the justice and save him from the powers of the police, looking at what he's been suffering or going through while in their custody. But after listening to both arguments, just the presiding judge on the matter, Susan Yakote, denied the bail application and then remanded him again. This is the second time he's been remanded since he appeared in court to reappear on April 17th.
What are you learning about the whereabouts of Daniel at this time?
Well, Daniel has been sent to police custody, like where he was remanded to the last time. We understand that he's remanded again.
We lost you there a little bit. Perhaps you can reiterate that point. But while you do that, how does counsel for Daniel respond to these charges?
So the charges, after the charges were read to Daniel, his plea, of course, wasn't taken because it was taken at this level. The stance that his lawyer has taken since the case began is that these charges should not hold. He says that there's nothing in them, so that really hasn't changed in that matter. The only difference is that he's been praying to the court for his client to be granted bail, but the police also have been opposing, indicating or insisting that they are still going on with their investigations, especially with the fact that just within the last few weeks or so, there's been an update that two other persons were sent to the home, allegedly by Daniel Cranting, to the home of Ahmed Swale shortly afterwards, and then found out. Something that also came out in court by the prosecution was that when the pictures of Ahmed Swale was shared with the member of parliament, former member of parliament for Asin Central, Kenya Japan, he admitted and then he indicated that the prosecution indicated that Ahmed Swale confronted Daniel Cranting via WhatsApp chat. And so these things have been coming out. So as the days go on, we'll see what else the police will be bringing out by way of the investigations as the case unfolds.
I see. We'll leave it here. Thank you so much for talking to us. Lord Eduasare there from the Medina District Court. We'll turn attention to health now because the Veterinary Services Department has denied reports of an outbreak of African swine fever in the Savannah regional capital, Damongo. The outbreak purportedly killed hundreds of pigs in the municipality. Local media reports further suggested that the disease was fast spreading in communities like Kantin, Atributu, Boroto, and Sori number 1, all in the Savannah region. The Veterinary Services Department is, however, disputing these reports, though admitting that the only confirmed cases of African swine fever are in the Kwewu West municipality of the eastern region, where samples from affected pigs were sent to the laboratory for confirmation after rearers reported several deaths among their livestock 2 weeks ago. For more on this, we're joined by Risk Communication Officer at the Veterinary Services Department of Ghana, Dr. Benjamin Kisi Sasu. Doc, good afternoon to you. What else is there to know about this African swine fever that appears to be spreading fear amongst farmers?
Yes, I'd like to greet your listeners and viewers, and I thank you for the opportunity given to me. So there's nothing to fear. From our checks, this year, the cases that we had was in January and February. Ghana is endemic for African swine fever, like the way when it comes to the human health, we are known for cholera. That every year we get cholera cases. So is African swine fever. Just to correct the public, African swine fever is different from swine flu. African swine fever doesn't affect humans. It is just a disease of economic importance. That means that if somebody puts investment into a piggery production, into pig production, and this virus get into these pen house, it will wipe all of them. So farmers face a lot of losses. But in terms of, so somebody eats a killed, slaughtered animal from these ones, no, you won't get any infection from it. But it's of concern because it can wipe away our pork industry or pig industry in the country, which is of concern. Just to make a clarification, the case of Savannah, Damongo, wasn't this year, it was 2023, which yesterday and this morning I've got into the media house, I've had a clarification, they have accepted that it was a mistake.
I see.
It happened this year, but it happened in February, which was confirmed and was curtailed. And in March, no case. Yesterday, when we had the Damongo case, we wanted to be sure, so a team went back to ascertain. And still when we went, as of yesterday, not mortalities, we are not seeing any pigs dying and all those things. So we are happy to get this opportunity to tell the public that if you see your pigs dying, sick, call the nearest veterinary center. And just a bit of clarification, when there's an outbreak and alert, like the way that is in human health, for us and animal health, it is the Ministry of Food and Agriculture who will issue a statement on alert or an outbreak. and to be done upon the advice of the Chief Veterinary Officer of Ghana. So currently, there is no such of that case. All the cases that we had in January and February were 1-1 cases. Yes, some pigs were
right. So you tell us that the Damongo case was not African swine fever. Was there or no, were there incidents?
It was African swine fever. It was African swine fever, but it didn't happen this year. It was 2023.
Yes, I understand. Hang on, Doc. What I'm asking is, you had indicated that some of your personnel went there to investigate the situation in Damongo. You ran some tests and then it was nothing. So is there any situation of mass deaths of pigs in Damongo?
No. So that this morning, per the briefing from the district and the regional vet officer, they're not even seeing pigs dying. Farmers are not reported. They went to various farms. They have asked around. Nobody have reported of pigs dying the past 3 or 4 weeks, and after yesterday too. No, they are not sick. I've told them that in case, and some of the residents were not happy about the news because it's going to affect their trade. People are going to stigmatize them, and we told them they should relax. It's part of our work. Once in a while, these issues will come up, and that's why we came there yesterday to find out. And we told them that today, media houses will give us a chance to clarify issue. So that mango, as of this year, no outbreak. They know that they haven't have mortality or they have pigs dying over there. No, not at all.
I see. How does the African swine fever manifest in the pigs for farmers who may be listening to us at this time?
Yes. So it is also caused by a virus known as 5VD. It can be spread by ticks. It can be spread by the droppings of affected animal. It can be fed by even a pork product that I'm prepared. The liquid coming from it, the juice coming from it can also spread it. Basically, what will a farmer see? There will be a loss of appetite. The pigs will begin not to eat. If they're pregnant one, there will be what we call spontaneous abortion. If they will start to lose weight, there will be swellings at their joint. We will also start to see the unique one that farmers know is if you turn them upside down, the abdomen region, you will see hemorrhages, that's patches of redness, and around your ear edges you may see this reddening, and you may see it becoming bluish at the various end, which medical term we say is cyanotic. This is what is common that a lot of farmers. But currently, in the world of science, virus do change. Sometimes you may not see all the signs, but it can be African swine fever, which we have had some cases in Ghana. So we always encourage the farmers that when your pigs are dying or sick, just tell the nearest veterinary services to come and make sure the right thing is done. And things are done for free. It's not something that farmers pay for. It's a public good. So I guess the police use don't believe that happened 2023 time ago. We still got there to check to be sure. And they went there with everything that they needed. In case they were sick animals, the animals that have been buried, they will have exhumed them and make sure samples are picked to confirm. And these are all things that
I see. And Doc, just before we let you go, what do you say to farmers who may want to terminate their pigs for consumption once sickness sets on? What would you say to them right now?
So in doing those things, we still need to call the veterinary to be there. Per our bylaws or per the law, which is pension law, nobody is supposed to slaughter an animal without veterinary approval. Normally in such cases, when there's an outbreak and we come and some are sick but they're not yet dead and we feel they need to be slaughtered, we would supervise and make sure it is done so that these droppings or these the pork products do not move to other farms nearby.
Very well. Doc, thank you so much for talking to us. Dr. Benjamin Kisi-Sasu is Risk Communication Officer at the Veterinary Services Department. Away from that, a search to recover more suspected missing bodies is currently ongoing at an illegal mine at Yao Nkwanta near Impasetia in the Ashanti region. 2 people have been confirmed dead after the mine collapsed. William Evans Inkum has been following the development. But before we take a listen to him, let's watch this. We'll bring you that insert a little later. We can connect directly with William Evans Inkum at this time. William, good afternoon to you. Is there any update on the recovery efforts yet?
Well, hope is fast fading for the locals who are trying their best to recover suspected missing bodies. Now, they are unable to tell us the exact numbers. Some are saying 3 are still trapped underground. Some are also saying 4, but they continue to dig. What is making the whole process a bit slow has to do with the method. I mean, we visited scenes like this. Normally, we see excavators helping situation. But what is happening currently is that there's no excavator on site at the moment. We are using shovel and pickaxe to do that, and that is slowing the process. They tell me that is the only means they can afford. So currently, that is the situation now. But coming in, this is the wife or the family house of the wife of one of the deceased. That is Privatizing. He is the only person identified so far as indigent of Impasetia. The other one who has been confirmed dead, we understand, is also a native of the Volta region. The 4 or 3 people that are still missing, their identities are yet to be disclosed as far as this disaster is concerned. So, Kamini, that is the situation on ground now.
I see. Let's talk about authorities and how they're viewing this incident.
Well, the police have come around, led by the divisional commander for Punya district. He's around together with a couple of his men. Then I also identified some staff from the Minerals Commission and then some staff from NADMO. So these are the people that are currently at the scene as I speak to you now.
Do we know if there are intentions to close the mine after recovery efforts are closed or end? Do we even know when recovery efforts will end?
Now, recovery efforts we do not know because the locals are still searching because they claim that they still have some of their guys stuck in there. Unless they are able to get an excavator that could possibly, accelerate, the rate at which they are working. But for now, with the dependence on shovel and pickaxe, well, it does appear that they are in for the long haul because they are still digging, but nobody has been found yet. So that is the situation now. Then you ask another question, if you can repeat that question.
Indeed, I was asking whether or not authorities have intentions to close the illegal mine post-recovery efforts.
Well, it is illegal. In the first place, they were not supposed to be there. They are worried, but it does appear that there's going to be the security is going to deepen patrol as far as that particular area. That enclave is a notorious, illegal mining haven. And if you engage the locals, they tell you that that is where they get their daily bread. So closing down, well, in the first place, it is even illegal at best.
Indeed, but you mentioned something, of interest to me when you say that they are unable to acquire an excavator at this point. What is the explanation from authorities when it comes to that?
Well, so one community unit member I engaged, he told me that they are unable to raise money to get an excavator to the site because catching that heavy equipment to the place, of course, you need a payloader, and they're unable to afford that. The reason why they are resorting to the use of this local method or indigenous method, that is the use of pickaxe and then a shovel to do it.
I see, William. Thank you so much for talking to us. William Evans Inkum is our Ashanti region correspondent who's been following this story closely. He spoke to some of the residents in this community. Let's take a listen.
Nipa two. Inti musu se nipa sena kam we se mo hwom. Nipa de na nkura na kasa ka be 4. Ka be 4 na omo inside. Okay. It is and they munyanya mubako kra. Okay. They are still doing their best to recover more bodies, and this particular mission is being led by the locals here. They tell me they couldn't get an excavator, so they have to use a simple method, that's a traditional method, shovel and then pickaxe, to actually do this. And that is exactly what they are doing here. So more or less we are all involved because already I'm soiled.
We'll continue to bring you more from Yao Nkwanta. But the incident in Yao Nkwanta is not isolated. It's not the first time. We've seen a number of these issues. We have seen over the years more than 100 Galamsey-related deaths in this country. Some go as far back, if we could take a look at it, as far back as 2017. So over this 8-year period, we have seen about 100 to 150 annual deaths in these Galamsey areas, particularly to do with pit collapse. Total recorded deaths about 200 between 2010 and 2020 over a 10-year period is more than 500. And I was telling you earlier how these cases in the last decade go as far back as 2017. In Prestia, June of 2017, there was a pit collapse which killed 22 people. A year after that, in Chichere, the miners were also buried alive there. 14 of those miners lost their lives. And in 2019, in Suta and Chichere again, in Suta, it was a case of a landslide killing 16 people, while in Chichere, a pit collapse that killed 17 people. If you look at it closely, over a year's duration, in Chichere alone, about 31 people have been killed in mine collapse in that area. 14 in 2018, and in 2019, about a year after that, 17 people died. But in singular occurrences, it would appear that the pit collapse in June 2017 in Prestia is the highest, with 22 deaths. Now, President John Dramani Mahama has assented to a number of legislative bills aimed at abolishing several taxes, including e-levy, bet tax, and emissions tax. While in opposition, the NDC, led by then flag bearer, promised to abolish some taxes to give relief to Ghanaians. At a short ceremony at the seat of government, the president delivered on yet again a promise he made. The signing ceremony will take place at the Jubilee House, where our correspondent Komla Kluche is on standby. More on that story a little later with Presidential Affairs correspondent Komla Kluche. In the meantime, we'll take a quick breather. When we come back, be sure we'll bring you more stories. Don't go away. Welcome back. The Roads Minister is demanding more than just 6 classroom blocks from mining companies as their corporate social responsibility in areas where they are mining for raw minerals. Kwame Govins Abuja opines that the resources extracted do not reflect what is given back to the society. The minister made this comments as he inspected the progress of work on the Ahafo Ano North mine road construction.
There were spots that we thought they could have remedied up to now, they haven't. DHM, they are not even available. That is a fact. They came to remedy a section, that is TT Junction, TT Brothers traffic light and others. But all these sections which are still part of their contract, they didn't do much. That is why MMU came in. I think their concern is that they want to know whether government is committed to this. The president said it in his State of the Nation address that we are committed to complete this project. The finance minister said it in his budget statement that we are committed to do this work. I said it in parliament. So I don't know what assurance they still need. They know the process as enshrined in the debt restructuring requires certain steps to be taken at certain times. So I feel disappointed that they have not delivered as required. But let them also be aware that the maintenance of the work at the site as there is a breach. If they fail, it's a breach, and I could cite them for a breach of the contract as well. Immediately, I'm asking First Sky Group to help MMU to remedy all that we can do to ease the problem on the how do you call it, the motorway runabout towards Central University. And immediately, I'm asking Oswald to also work on the Ashama runabout to beyond Michelle Camp, and everything we can do as a remedial activity to improve the surface of the road whilst we do the main construction. I ask them to do that immediately. It's an emergency work, so we are not going to wait for anything. They should move in as quickly as possible. As early as this evening or tomorrow, they can mobilize under the guidance of the Chief Executive of Highways, and let's see what we can do to limit the suffering of our people immediately.
My commitment is without question. You know, we've done a lot of work in this country. Even when we don't get payment, we still continue working. So the commitment is there, and we'll ensure that within a couple of months, they will see a difference on that stretch of the road. People are really suffering. It was obvious during our journey, and I want to assure them that help is coming.
We can now take you across the regions in Regional Hub. The DCE nominee for Akachi North District in the Volta region, Bless Kojo Katamani, has been given overwhelming approval by the Assembly members. All 18 members of the Assembly who voted this morning voted unanimously to confirm the nominee, who becomes the 4th DCE for the district. Correspondent Faisal Abdul-Idrisu has more on the story. Faisal, what else can you report?
Yes, so Bless Katamani, an academician or vice chairman of the NDC since 2018, has been confirmed with the issues of infrastructure deficit across all sectors, including the area of education, the area of health. But of course, the district over time has made some significant strides. Mr. Katamani is saying that his confirmation and swearing as a DCE for the district would mark the beginning of new things. That is to say, he's going to lead the development of the area, calling for the support of all stakeholders, and also calling and extending that kind of call to others who contested him in this particular race to join him develop the district. Let's have a listen to what he said right after his confirmation.
This role will affect commitment to serve with integrity, dedication, and humility. I recognize the challenges that lie ahead, but I also see great opportunities for growth and transformation. Together, We will prioritize education, healthcare, infrastructure, agriculture, and economic empowerment to uplift our people and create prosperous districts for all. As I see this position, I send a hand of partnership to all stakeholders, political leaders, civil servants, religious bodies, youth, and entire communities.
Bless Kojo Katamani. There earlier was Faisal Abdul Idrisu, our Volta region correspondent. It will stay across the regions. Education is the bedrock of development, but for pupils and teachers of Famkwa, MA, kindergarten and primary schools, learning has become a daily struggle. A recent rainstorm in the deprived community of German South in the Bono region caused severe damage to classrooms for Basic 5 and 6, leaving the schools in urgent need of government intervention. A report by Claude Komi Abisa.
Incident, which occurred over 3 weeks ago, has forced over 50 children to continue their education in the cramped, muddy makeshift structure provided by a community member. With no immediate help in sight, the headmistress, teachers and pupils are pleading for assistance.
It has become difficult for us. So now we use this place as a classroom, somebody's house. So when it happens like that, I went there and begged for the owner. And then we send them class 6 and class 5 there. In fact, teaching and learning is very difficult for us. That place, the people are plenty, so they cannot convene, but we have to force them to be at that class. So teaching and learning is not going on at all like previously.
Even though authorities have visited the school to assess the situation, the headmistress is however appealing for urgent interventions from government, NGOs and kind-hearted individuals to ameliorate the situation.
We had a visitors from Municipal Assembly. They came here and they had the pictures and another. They are going and they will come back very soon to solve the problem for us. These are the structures we used. We don't have office where we put our books. Children, they don't have place to sit. So we are pleading to government, stakeholders, everybody to come to our aid immediately before the rain starts heavy.
A teacher at the school, Emmanuel Van Dyke, describes the situation as heartbreaking as they struggle to offer their best, but the environment is just not conducive.
As we know, we are in a remote places. They shouldn't just look back on us. They should turn their eyes to those of us who are in the remote areas like this. When it comes to the materials that we need as students and as teachers to teach so that a good and a perfect educational instruction will be taking place, we find it very difficult. The structure in which we are living on is a very big challenge for us.
An affected people, Albert Kwabnose, shared his ordeal.
My problem is we need government to build our school for us, and our classroom too is small for us. And when we come to school, our shirt is dirty.
The call for help is loud and clear. With the rainy season intensifying, the fear for a total collapse grows daily. For now, pupils and teachers continue to endure the harsh conditions, hoping for a miracle. Claude Komi Abisa, TV3 News, Famkwa, Bono Region.
Now, teaching and learning at Nkranza Technical Institute is deteriorating as the school struggles with severe furniture shortages. The situation, compounded by inadequate dormitory facilities and poor nutrition, is hindering students' ability to learn and thrive. Belinda Tete reports from the Bono East region.
And chess is disrupting student engagement at Nkranza Technical Institute. However, the dormitory crisis presents an even graver challenge, with overcrowding forcing some students to sleep in open spaces. These pose a serious safety risk for students who only seek a conducive environment for study and rest.
Our dormitories, we have 5 dormitories for boys, but our number
exceeds the capacity in which it can sustain us.
Beyond the furniture challenges, students struggle with the absence of proper study tables and chairs in their classrooms, directly affecting their academic performance.
The students, we are very many, and then the chairs too, it's not enough. If you go to some departments like electrical engineering, you see students sitting on, 2 students sitting on chairs, and then others they will use chairs, and then others will use tables.
Plumbing, we don't have furniture. We are lacking of a lot of things like marker board, lights, and the rest.
Adding to their woes is the poor state of their nutrition. Students complain that food provided is often inadequate and lacks essential nutrients, further affecting their well-being.
We are concerned about the food, the quantity, and then the richness.
The school's administrator has expressed deep concern over the impact of the challenges on students' overall performance. They are further appealing to government and relevant stakeholders to intervene and provide the much-needed support.
So we would like to call upon the government, the President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, then the Minister of Education, Honorable Haruna Iddrisu, to come to our aid.
The situation at Nkranza Technical Institute highlights the urgent need for a comprehensive approach to improving technical education infrastructure and student welfare. Belinda Tete, TV3 News, Bono East Region.
Afransia residents in the Shama municipality are urging the government to connect them to the national electric grid, as years without power is forcing the youth to flee for urban centers. A report by Stephen Kujo.
As night falls across homes, electricity spark up life at night with brisk night economic activity and students study under bright bulbs in cities. But in Afranse, darkness is a way of life. Afranse, a farming community under Bepos electoral area within the Shama municipality, a major concern for residents is absence of electricity. The community falls silent with no harm of refrigerator, no bars of ceiling fans. With no electricity, residents journey to Bepos, a nearby community, just to watch television or charge their phones. A once functional solid power street light that brought temporary relief has since broken down.
The light in Hensi, at this
because there is no electricity in our community, the youth are forced to travel to Bepos just to watch television. They return home at odd hours. This situation leaves parents in a constant fear. The absence of electricity is very worrying.
Students are also impacted. Sandra, a mother, laments that her 15-year-old daughter is forced to study with a torchlight.
My child relies on torch to study, and when she doesn't return home early from school, she misses her study time. I worry that this might affect her eyesight. The lack of electricity in our community makes life very difficult.
Beyond electricity, Afranse faces a severe water crisis. The only borehole in the village has not been functioning for months.
With the borehole not working now, this is the stream or the only source of drinking water for the people of Afranse. It is not really a sight good to behold.
The assembly member for the community laments the long-term neglect of residents of Afranse.
So the last time I went to electricity company and I was just asking them their procedures for extension, because it's not just only this community. We have a lot of communities in my electoral area, of which there is a lot of burden of
Afranse struggles highlight the widening gap between urban development and rural neglect, as residents urgently plea for intervention. For TV3 News, Stephen Kujo, Afranse.
Afranse ending regional hub today. The Ghana National Association of Teachers has given the Ministry of Education and the Ghana Education Service 1 month to implement its conditions of service. According to NAPT, any further delays beyond April 30th could negatively impact the peaceful industrial climate. Our Labour Affairs correspondent Daniel Ipuku spoke to the General Secretary of NAT, Thomas Tanko-Musa, here in Accra.
In 2024, pre-tertiary teacher unions, including the Ghana National Association of Teachers (NAT), the National Association of Graduate Teachers (NAGRAT), and the Coalition of Concerned Teachers (CCT Ghana) went on strike. The unions were demanding the implementation of their conditions of service and promotions for directors. However, the government failed to fulfill its promise, prompting intervention from the National Labour Commission (NLC). Despite a directive from the NLC to implement the conditions, no action was taken. This year, the teacher unions petitioned both the Ministry of Education and the Ghana Education Service to ensure the conditions are implemented, but progress has been slow. The delay has caused growing frustration and tension among teachers across the country. The General Secretary of NAT, Thomas Tanko-Musa, has issued a warning about potential industrial unrest.
We've also informed the Ministry of Employment, Jobs. We have also informed them that we're giving them 1 month to make sure they solve all these problems, because failure to do so in the month of May, they won't have it easy with us. Because I have been to all the regions and the teachers are not happy. And therefore, when I came back, I have to write officially to the Minister for Education. And I am hoping and expecting that all this outstanding business, Honorable Haruna Idrisi will make sure that it is done.
He called on authorities to act quickly to implement the conditions of service.
When the teacher is asking for the scheme of service, nobody, this one, the National Labour Commission has ruled that give us scheme of service. We have been patient enough to get it done. It is that we sign. Why is it not being signed for implementation? And the other one is the Public Services Commission. As for them, it's about 2 years now. And if they don't correct the things in the month of April, in the month of May, they will hear from us.
Teachers across the nation are closely monitoring the situation as they await further developments.
That'll be all for today. Thank you so much for your company. We're back same time tomorrow with News Central. Next is the afternoon show. Just stay. Bye-bye.